New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers, Monday Night Football. May seem like a snooze fest in Green Bay, Wisconsin, but I can promise you it's not. There's a lot of important information regarding data outliers, coverage metrics, run scheme data that we all need to talk about for your fantasy teams and for your higher or lower projections. If you've never been here before, though, welcome. My name is Max. I do these every single week for Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, the biggest games on Sunday. And then when we got outliers like Saturday football this past week, we got Christmas football. We have a full video coming out for that. We break those games down too. So if you're not a part of the family, make sure you subscribe. You can get breakdowns like this completely for free just by subscribing, joining the family. We are on the road to 10K. We are almost there. We might get there at this video. And if you enjoy this type of content or you've been here before, make sure you leave a like on the video. It helps me a ton and it lets me know that you like this type of content. We're going to talk about this game, all the numbers within it in a second. It's a little bit of a quicker breakdown, not a ton of data outliers to be honest with you. But before we do, I want to make sure you guys know where to get my picks for these games. You absolutely need to be locked in on the socials. There's links below. I'll show you really quick. Right now, you can see on my Instagram, that is where the picks will be, whether it's a 5-man watered down entry or it's 3-leg parlay, whatever it may be. Everything will be on Instagram in relation to players, kind of game outcomes, everything like that. On X, additional breakdowns. Those picks will be there as well if you don't use Instagram as much. And the more fun picks, the touchdown scorers, the less research back picks. Like if you followed X before Thursday, both of our fun picks hit, right? It was Ladd McConkey 80 plus and both kickers to have at least 2 field goals. They both hit. You got to make sure you're following on X. And if you want bonus cash to make these picks with, remember, sleeper, underdog, and better picks, all right there below, we'll give you free cash. You got a half-yard special on sleeper. You can only get it if you join with code LEADS, L-E-A-D-S. But you join with that code, they'll give you a free half-yard pick and 11 free additional entries after that. Don't want to miss out on that. Underdog's doing something very, very similar. They'll give you a deposit bonus up to $1,000 and another free half-yard pick. Better picks doing almost the same thing. They'll match your first deposit up to $200 and give you a free half completion pick. It's free cash. Make sure you're locked in on the socials and those apps. If you're not on any of the apps, you can join all 3 and get the bonuses on all 3. Don't miss out. But without further ado, let's talk about this game. So New Orleans heading into Green Bay. For some reason, there's this foregone conclusion that it's supposed to be a snowstorm in Green Bay on Monday night. Now, I'm not a weatherman. I don't get paid to look at the weather, but this is the type of breakdown we do over here. We got to check the weather, right? You look here, Monday and Monday night. So you can see it's a little different. Variable clouds with snow showers. Temps nearly steady in the low to mid 30s. Winds light and variable. Chance of snow 50%. Less than 1 inch accumulation though. So it doesn't seem like there's going to be a ton of snow. Cloudy, low, winds light and variable at night. Obviously, the game is being played at night. Now, if it was a snowstorm, you'd obviously want to lean into the run game a little bit more, but I will tell you, we're still leaning into the run game here, guys. The big data outlier in this game, on the New Orleans side, of course, the New Orleans side, because, there really isn't too much to write home about, but our cash cow for the Green Bay Packers is going to be in play again. 2 things. Number one, New Orleans giving up the 10th most rush yards to opposing running backs, but only the 20th most attempts. So teams aren't running the ball a ton on them. Packers love to run the ball. That's what they do. We'll pull up the rushing numbers here in a minute. But in terms of overall rush yards per carry, New Orleans is bottom 10. And that's the bottom line. So in a game where the Packers are heavy favorites, they're going to be taking the air out of football, run the ball a bit more. I really like Josh Jacobs, his attempts, his yards, and everything like that. We'll look at his line specifically in a second here, but I do want to pull up these numbers in terms of offensive rushing because it's important to look at what the Green Bay Packers are doing, especially as of late, right? 6th most attempts in the NFL in terms of yards per carry, 4.7, 7th most yards per carry, rush yards per game, 144.4. That's tied for 4th. They are running the ball wildly efficiently. Josh Jacobs is playing awesome football right now. I want to go to the game logs against this New Orleans team, though, especially in those games where they have gotten blown out. Now, we're going to walk through these, and we're going to look at the projection. We're going to look at the numbers, running backs against the Saints, and then we're going to guess the projection. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers scored a lot of points. You had Bucky Irving at 81 and Sean Tucker with 136. Let me scroll back up a little bit here. Eagles didn't really blow them out. Falcons did not blow them out, but Bucs scored a lot of them. They did. New Orleans blew them out on Thursday Night Football. Javonte Williams, a guy who doesn't usually produce on the ground, had 88 yards. Let's see here. Second time around Atlanta, you look at Bijan, 116, Algier with 59. Kyron Williams, 104. against the Saints. Not a blowout, but the Rams controlled that game. And then the last couple weeks, this is what scares me a little bit. Now, the Giants game, obviously, that was never going to happen. But Brian Robinson Jr., 21 carries for 65 yards. That's the only game that really scares me because that's a guy who's, generally speaking, pretty productive on the ground, who's been really good all year long. But Josh Jacobs' projection right now is only 88 yards. And, I look at some of the past games. He's had 88 yards in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 14 overall. As of late, though, he had not played 80% plus snaps until that Chicago game. He's had it in 2 of the last 5. So not as convincing, to be honest with you, but he's been finding the end zone. He's been wildly efficient on the ground, especially against good defenses, which is actually kind of crazy to think about. Like, he had 7.31 yards per carry against Detroit the first time around, 5.25 against Philly. In terms of run defenses, Minnesota, 5.67 against them, 6.33 against Houston. He steps up to the plate. Now, the past couple weeks, efficiency-wise, he's dipped off. But the Green Bay Packers are 14-point favorites here. And I look at Josh Jacobs and those rush projections that he has, and I feel honestly pretty comfortable with them, regardless of what it is. I don't ever blindly say, yeah, this guy's going to have over this amount of yards without looking at it. But a number of 88 just seems a bit low to me. It seems a bit low in what's probably going to be a blowout. They're probably going to lean into the ground game a little bit more against the bad run defense. I'm going to lean into it. But the cash cow we talked about on the Green Bay side, I'm trying to think. It was Green Bay, Detroit. That was the first one on Thursday Night Football. I got to scroll back here and look at the games. It may have been it was last week against Seattle. Yep, it was last week against Seattle. What do we say about Christian? Wait, was it last week? I want to make sure I got this right. Yeah, last week against Seattle. 3 straight weeks we're getting on this. If you guys are loyal, I have a funny feeling you're going to know what I talk about when I tell you the Saints run an above average rate of man, and the Packers maybe they don't throw the ball a ton, but the Saints are giving up 6th most receptions and the 5th most yards to opposing wide receivers. You guys know what we're on? If you know what we're on, I want you to comment. I'll give you a second. But Christian Watson, man. Christian Watson. And it's not this wild, 50-yard performance. It's not this Detroit game, right? He had, 4 for 100-something yards. It's not that. It's not that at all, actually. Christian Watson, longest catch. Yeah, longest catch. I can go pull up the projection right now, but we can go look at his game log because he has absolutely torched man-heavy teams in the past. And now he's going to get another opportunity to do that. Look at this. 36, 59, 46. And I'm just going to look at the man teams. Miami's his own team, and he still had a 46-yard catch. Seattle, heavy man, or heavier man, excuse me. Detroit, very heavy man. Chicago, they were zone heavy, but Detroit, he had 19. Jacksonville, 14 is what scares me. That's the only one that scares me. Tennessee with Snead at the beginning of the year was a heavy man team. Got hurt in this Minnesota game. And Arizona's a balanced team, 44. The reality is when you get man across the board, Jordan Love is going to throw the football down the field to Christian Watson. And more times than not, he's been producing, which is very cool to note because he is, in my opinion, their best wide receiver. I think he's an extremely talented player. I want to pull up his longest catch projection right now, though. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page with that, just so we have an actual number to look at least right now. Obviously, it'll change as time goes on. We'll scroll this down. Longest catch. Come on now. I hope it's up. Yep. It's 23 yards. So you can look at the past games. 23 yards, obviously 3 of 3 in the last 3 games. 4 of the last 5, and then 1. So that's 6. 6 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 of 11 games he's been targeted in. So there you go. 6 of 11 games he's been targeted in, he has a catch of at least, 23 yards. 23 yards. And, if you want to take him 20 plus, reception of 20 plus to put in a parlay, whatever you want to do, the reality is you're going to get man coverage on 3rd down against the Saints. You're going to throw the football down the field. That's how it's gone with Christian Watson in the past. That's probably how it's going to go this time around. So I like Christian Watson longest catch. Let's talk other side very quickly, though, because there really isn't too much here. Green Bay runs the 4th most zone in the league. That's the reality of it. 4th most zone in the league. Last 5 games, 2nd most pass attempts, though, which is very important to note. 2nd most pass attempts. They are giving up, they're giving up a good amount of pass attempts. Running back receptions, though, we're always on that. Devon Achane had a big game. We can pull up some game logs here, but the running back receptions are huge against the Green Bay Packers. We've talked about this all year long. Zach Charbonnet had a huge game last week. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs had a big game a couple weeks ago. We can scroll back. Zach Charbonnet, 4 targets. See, not a great game through the air, but we can look at the pass games against these guys. Gibbs, 630. Montgomery, 533. Achane, 856. McCaffrey, 337. Montgomery, 323. And then we had 20 from Dearness Johnson, so not great there. Joe Mixon, that surprises me, but back up. DeMercado and Connor each 4+ catches. Nothing from Blake Corum, Kyron Williams. Aaron Jones, 46. Tajay Spears, 54. JT, 32. And then Saquon, 23. So a lot of games with 20+ receiving yards. Now, what's crazy is Kendre Miller has barely played, right? We know that. But his receiving projection is not up on Sleeper just yet. We'll check Underdog. But you look at Kendre Miller, a guy who's stepping in to be the starting running back in a game where Spencer Rattler's starting. Not a whole lot's going to go right for this Saints team. That's the reality. But they are giving up the 5th most receiving yards to opposing running backs, the 7th most receptions to opposing running backs, getting targeted out of the backfield at a top 10 rate. To me, Kendre Miller has to be the guy we all look at. Again, receiving projections are not up yet, but Kendre Miller is the guy we're going to look at against zone, especially because his target rate, which is crazy, of among all active Saints in this game, this speaks to how hurt they are, I think, above anything else. But among all active New Orleans Saints in this game, guys, he has the highest target rate against zone. The highest target rate against zone. How does that even make sense? Kendre Miller, a guy who has 4 targets against zone, but the highest target rate against zone. Now, a lot of these projections aren't up for these players yet, but another guy we have to talk about is Juwan Johnson. And we're going to do a nice little exercise with this. We're going to look at the pass production for opposing tight ends, and we're going to set a bar saying, okay, if Juwan Johnson's line is above this or below this, we're going to go more than or less than. That is how we're going to view this little situation here. So Juwan Johnson out of the tight end position, right? And you can look at Foster Moreau if you want, but we can pull up some snap counts and some game logs from the New Orleans Saints so we're all on the same page here. So it's going back and forth between Johnson and Moreau. Moreau had a better game last time. Johnson had better games the last 2 times. But in terms of route participation, Johnson has been the guy since the Taysom Hill injury. Wherever you want to lean, you can lean. But you look at this. So Noah Fant, look at 7 targets for a guy who's not really involved in the pass game. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Definitely something to note. Sam Laporta, 5 for 54. So what we're going to do is we're going to add these up and we're going to average them out. We'll do last 7 games. So Fant had 15. Laporta had 54. Look at Jonnu Smith, 113, 82 for Kittle, 42 for the number 1 in Kmet, 59 for Brenton Strange, then 28, for Schultz. You average that out over the 7 games. A projection of 56 receiving yards is kind of what you expect on the overall averages from these tight ends. Now, if you go add up the rest of the games just throughout the entire season, 96 from McBride, 52 from Parkinson, nothing really from Munt or Oliver, whatever you expect that 15. 43 from Josh Wiley, that's kind of crazy. 22 from Mo Alley Cox, and 31 from Goddard. You average that out, and it's 46, so a little bit lower. But if you get either of these tight ends guys below, I don't know, I'd say like 35 in terms of receiving yards, you probably should take it. The weather's not going to be a big factor, I don't think, especially now when you look at this forecast. Doesn't seem like it's going to snow at night. But, you know, you can take those receiving yards in a game where they're probably going to be losing. They're probably going to have more chances than usual to throw the football. Spencer Rattler will air it out. And if you pull up the game logs with Rattler in the lineup, that's definitely something to look at too. So Rattler was week 6 through 8, and 15. Tight end production in week 6 through 8. Look at Juwan Johnson, 3 catches in all 3 of those games, couple without Taysom Hill too, and then 15 obviously. I want to say this is a data outlier here with Foster Moreau, 4 for 39 and a touchdown, but you do have to take it with a grain of salt regardless. I think Juwan Johnson receiving yards, as well as Kendre Miller receptions and receiving yards. And then on the other side, Josh Jacobs yards, and then Christian Watson, longest catch, baby. You got to love it. You got to lean into it. We keep doing it. I know it's crazy, but you have to believe that that is going to continue to work. Guys, thank you so much for coming to the Monday Night Football Breakdown. Again, all my picks will be on my Instagram and X, so make sure you're following below. Get some bonus cash below if you haven't already. We will see you, depending on when you're watching this, Monday afternoon for the Christmas breakdown. We got Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans. God bless you guys. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.